Hey babes, welcome back to my channel. Today is Freaky Friday, episode 10. I hope I get that right. 10. We are on 10, you guys. This is so amazing. Once again, I just want to say a big, huge thank you. You guys are kicking ass interacting with these videos. The views are going back up. If you did not catch what was going on, I did mention that because of the Freaky Friday videos, they only cater to certain people, which is perfectly fine. Those were getting lower views than my normal videos. So it was really messing with my view average and, oh my voice, with my view average. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to continue with these Freaky Friday videos. So as long as you guys keep interacting and commenting, YouTube will see that. They'll see that you guys are really interacting and really liking them. So then YouTube will share these videos as well, and more spooky lovers can come and view these type of videos, and my view rate will go back up. Just do not forget to interact. Make sure to comment down below, like the video so YouTube sees that. And yeah, so I'm really excited about the stories that I'm going to be sharing today. This is the look I will be creating. It's sort of a gothic Sandy from Greece kind of vibes with the little cholita earrings and stuff, but I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to stop blabbing. If you are not subscribed, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell notification to be notified when I upload videos. All right, dolls, let's get into this Freaky Friday. Okay, dolls, so the first story for today is from Hannah H, and it is titled Suicide Nurse. Hey, my name is Hannah, and I grew up in a very small town in Kentucky. I lived on the side of a mountain, and below our house was my uncle's house. His house was an old civil hospital, then turned into a mental hospital, and then a doctor's office. After the doctor sold his practice, it became my uncle's house. I used to go exploring in it all the time growing up. When I was about 10 to 11 years old, I went up to the attic, which shows the wood support beam going across. When I came up, I looked to my left and I seen a woman hanging from one. Freaked out, I ran downstairs and found my dad and uncle. I told them what I had seen. They told me it was nothing, but went to check anyway. They got a ladder and even checked the beam and seen burn marks from a rope. At the time, they played it off, but a few years ago, I went digging into the history of the house and found that a nurse had hung herself in the attic when it was a mental hospital. Both my dad and uncle had passed away since then, so I couldn't ask them anything about it, but I do remember trying to act like it was nothing. I should have also added that there was a morgue in the basement and you could always hear stuff falling in the basement, even when no one was down there. I have a basement and I have yet to go down there. I will not go down there. One, spiders, and two, I just feel like I'm probably going to get trapped under there, so I don't even bother. That is so sad. Did you ever look into the history of the woman and why she hung herself? Thank you so much, Hannah, for sharing your story. This next one is also a short and sweet one, and it is from, I think it's Ants or Ansi. Hi, lovely. My name is Ansi, and I live in North Europe. When I was little, about 4 to 5 years old, I spent a month from summer with my grandparents, my dad's side. One day when I was shopping with my dad, he got a call and immediately ran out of the shop and jumped in his car with me. We sped to my grandparents' house, and the moment I stepped out of the car in the yard of their house, I saw my grandfather laying on the ground and a lot of people in bright yellow jackets around him. After a week, we had a funeral from him. Oh my gosh. I had to spend the rest of my summer with my grandma, and every night she watched the news. This is where it gets spooky. The room is built so that the mirror is next to the TV and parallel to the door and couch, so you can see the front door if you were sitting on the couch in the mirror. My granddad always worked till it was dark out, so he would always come home in the house when we were watching TV. This day, I was sitting on the end of the couch and could see the front door perfectly. The door was locked. We were watching the news when I heard the front door open, and immediately I told my grandpa to come sit with us and watch TV. The moment I looked in the mirror, I saw the front door open and my grandpa standing there, though a bit like foggy, but it was my grandfather. I froze and he disappeared, but the door was still wide open. As I said, he had died 2 weeks prior. See, those are like sweet ghost stories. I love that. I would give anything to actually, I see my grandpa in my dreams all the time, so I know he visits me, but I would like to actually physically see him. Miss that feeling. Oh, thank you so much, Ansi, for sharing your story. Okay, dolls, this next story is from Pinup B. Hello, babes. First off, I'd like to start off by saying I'm a huge fan. I started following you when I was 13 and you only had 20 followers. Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. Thank you so much. That's so crazy. I am 22, going to be 23 in October, and I also wanted to say I love this new series. Okay, fangirl moment over. When I was a little girl, around 3 or 4 years old, I used to live in my little house in San Pedro with my mom, my dad, my older sister, my brother, and me. It was a classic house. The wood was dark brown, and the house itself was kind of creamish yellow color. We moved when I was about 4 or 5. One day, my abuelita picked up me, my brother, and my sister to go somewhere. I don't remember where. My abuelita was gossiping with a neighbor, while me, my brother, and sister were sitting in the back seat of her car. I was in the middle, my brother was on the left, and my sister on my right, and the car was facing the house. Something told me to look up at the side window on the side of the house. I saw a white floating hand and some hair. I was so scared I couldn't say anything. I couldn't explain what it was, and for years I never told anyone. A couple years go by, and by this time I am 16, and me, my brother, and my sister were at a family party sitting together talking about ghost stories. I decided to share with them my ghost story, thinking it was probably just me being a kid and seeing shit. My brother and sister look at me weird and tell me they saw the same thing and also couldn't explain it and never wanted to tell anyone. My brother then continued to tell us that when we lived in the house, he also experienced a weird, scary moment. He said he was sleeping in our parents' bed under the covers and putting his feet where he was pretending to be as tall as them. Everyone was asleep. He said while he was laughing and playing, he then felt something grab his feet and try to pull him. He started kicking, and he thinks he kicked something in the nose or face. My parents woke up and asked what the hell he was doing. He never told anyone, and to this day, sleeps in fetal position. Hope it wasn't too long. Love you tons. I'm telling you, our grandparents and our parents would always talk about if we misbehave, something would pull our feet at the end of the night. And I still, even as an adult, I do not like to have my feet hanging off the bed. Like, no thank you. That is so creepy. Thank you so much, Pinup B, for sharing your story. Okay, dolls, now this next story is from Catalina, and it is titled A Sweet, Lonely, Innocent Soul. I just wanted to start off by saying I love you, and I love that you have started this new Freaky Friday series. So this is one of my many paranormal experiences in this house that I grew up in. One day, me and my mom, 7-year-old little cousin, are driving back from California all the way back to Vegas. We eventually dropped my little cousin off at her house to eventually get to mine. I ended up staying up late to study for a quiz I had on Monday morning. Shortly after, I turned off the lights to finally get some sleep for school. Just when I was about to doze off, I hear a child giggling. I rose up from my covers annoyed. I was just about to yell at my little cousin for being loud when I was trying to sleep for school. This is just when I realized we had dropped her back off home hours before. What was before my eyes sent shivers down my spine. I seen the silhouette of a little girl with pigtails at the foot of my bed. No matter how much I tried to focus, I could not identify any facial features, just simply a silhouette. I was so frozen with terror. After a quick second, she ran back between my cracked door and faded away. Resuming 2 years later to this day, my mom knows this coworker who had a sixth sense. She said that the little girl was simply trying to comfort me. She said she felt my loneliness and pain. At this time, I was dealing with severe depression and was contemplating suicide. Oh, babe. She said that the little girl was fostered and that her foster parents had murdered her and suffocated her to death. Oh my gosh. She was a sacrifice to devil worshippers. When I heard this, my heart was utterly broken. All I could do was hysterically cry. So many thoughts and emotions ran through my mind. She had said her name was Lauren, and I had recalled handprints in my backyard with the same exact name. She said the little girl is housebound with a few other spirits left for more story times for me to share. I really feel attached to Lauren until this day, and I still feel sorrow and a missing piece of my heart of a lonely little girl that I abandoned after I moved. That is such a heartbreaking story and such an awful way to pass. Her evil foster parents murdered her, and devil worshippers. That is so sad. That just breaks my heart. And you didn't abandon her. I'm sure she completely understands. I think that's absolutely sweet that she was there to comfort you in a time that you need, especially, you know, being depressed and contemplating suicide. I am so glad you are here and very grateful that you are here and that you're in my little family. So thank you, my love Catalina, for sharing your story. And I'm so, like I said, I am so happy you're still here. Okay, dolls. So this next story is from Melissa J. And it is titled The Two Unwelcomed Guests. Hey Ashley, my name is Marissa Jade. I've got a short but still very spooky ghost story for you. So the story takes place in my great-grandmother's home in St. Louis, Missouri. My grandmother, I call her Gigi, lived in a very old home built in the early 1920s. So countless people have lived and died in her home. My Gigi had 3 people living with her. Her adult son David, who needed a place to stay, a lady in a white sleeping gown that liked to take strolls around the house, and an evil presence that stayed in the corner of her living room. The 2 latter residents were obviously not welcomed, but she learned to live with them. The home had a long hallway that you could see straight down when sitting on my Gigi's sofa. More times than I can count, I would be sitting on the sofa watching TV or chatting with Gigi, and I would see a woman in a white gown walk from room to room down the hallway. Sometimes she would just stand at the back end of it, looking towards me. The first few times scared the living out of me, but I soon became used to it, being that I would spend many summers at Gigi's home and her TV was the only available form of entertainment. I know the lady was harmless, but that never made the encounters any less disturbing. The second unwelcome guest that lived with Gigi was the negative entity in the living room. It remained in the right corner of the ceiling, just above the front door. I know it was evil because my great-uncle Gigi's son had a dog named Sandy that was terrified of this corner. Sandy refused to go out the front door because of it. Anytime she needed to use the bathroom or needed to go on a walk, you'd have to take her out the back door or she'd go bonkers. Sandy was a good, sweet dog, but if you pushed her into the corner, her loving personality would flip like a switch. Many times Sandy would sit and stare up at the corner for hours. Sometimes she would bark and bark non-stop, and sometimes she would just sit there and whine as if she was scared or concerned. If Sandy was in the living room, her eyes would always be focused on that corner. Though nothing serious happened regarding the 2 supernatural guests, it was always interesting to consider that you could be living with more people than you think. P.S. I'm a longtime subscriber and I am excited about the new Freaky Friday series. Love you and always wishing you the best. Ooh! Dogs always have that sixth sense, so definitely something bad and they are barking, but the fact that it's like on the corner up in the ceiling makes me think like it's a demon. It reminds me of the movie Insidious. You know how the creature is up at the top on the ceiling. Whew, that just freaks me out. I just gave myself the chills thinking about that. Thank you so much, Marissa, for sharing your story. Okay, dolls, moving on to this next story. This one's fairly long, so I'm bringing you a long one this time. It is from Xiomara. Hello, Ashley. First off, I'd like to say that I love who you are as a Latina woman, killing the game with your bodacious curves and down-to-earth vibes. Pero bueno, on to the story. Thank you, my love. I appreciate that so much, and I love you. The story takes place about 5 years ago. I was living at the time in my father's apartment. Now, this place is known to have a spirit. It's a mischievous one. Means no harm, I know, because I have seen them, and I grew up there to know. Well, I put my daughter to sleep and left her in our bedroom. I would always say out loud, "Don't you dare touch or bother my kid. If you do, so help me, I will put an end to you." As a mother should. Only like that I would be able to leave my daughter alone sleeping. She could sleep for 2 hours straight and not wake up for nothing in the world, not even to loud music. But one day I totally forgot to say what I usually would say before leaving her alone. So I stepped into the kitchen, and within 5 minutes, my daughter started to cry and scream. She couldn't stop staring at the corner of our ceiling where our bed was. She didn't even want to go near our bed and would tug at me and not stop crying. I had to do a mini prayer and mini spiritual cleanse on her. Only like that, she was able to sleep once more. And I screamed out loud, "Didn't I tell you to leave her alone? Vete pa la chingada y no jodas más." Clearly, this was enough to have it leave her alone. Unfortunately, later that week of that incident, she got sick. I did everything to cure her, however, nothing worked. It wasn't until I called my mother at 12 midnight on the brink of tears because my daughter wouldn't stop crying. My mom gave me a rundown of everything to do, and I said that I tried it all before calling her. It wasn't until she said to wrap her up in a blanket and have her lay in her bed and place a cup of water under her bed, and all the evil or mal de ojo would drip down into the glass. Well, I did that. Girl, when I tell you that creeped me out, I mean it. That would have creeped me out too. So my daughter was still crying, but slowly started to stop to the point where she began to sleep. Me and her father were just observing her to make sure she was okay. We were relieved till we heard a drop of water. We both stood quiet as we heard another drop of water. I quickly looked at the glass under her bed, and that was crystal clear. Nothing was in the glass. I was like, oh hell no, and carefully grabbed my baby and placed her in between us, and we slept. However, little did I know that doing this, instead of letting the process finish, the evil then proceeded to attack me. Sure, I thought it was sleep paralysis at first until I looked at the bottom of my bed and I saw a woman. And I tried to call out to my husband, and obviously he couldn't hear me. When I turned my head over to the other side, was in my face. Girl, her nose was literally an inch away from mine. And when I blinked, my head was forced to look towards the foot of the bed, and she was standing in front of my husband. She extended her hand, and no lie, my husband began to levitate. Only till then, I guess I was able to break the spell, and I screamed, "Fernando!" And he awoke, and I began to cough and catch my breath. I kid you not, he said that his back began to hurt like as if he was dropped. I told him what happened, and he was so frightened. He is a huge baby with things like this. So I told him to just pray and all will be fine in the morning. Come morning time, I had to clean myself and him with a huevo. Damn girl, what an experience. There are many more moments like this, but this is just one. Anyways, I hope I get to hear you read my story on this Freaky Friday segment. Love you. Sorry it was super long. Hell no, that is scary. That woman obviously was trying to harm you guys. Now, is that the same spirit as the other one that you said wouldn't do harm? Because that one that you did see was trying to do harm. So I don't remember reading about different spirits in there. I know you said a spirit, but I hope it's not the same spirit that didn't cause harm before, because why all of a sudden would he try to harm you guys, especially your daughter? But so glad everyone's okay. That is super creepy. Thank you so much, Ziamara, for sharing your story. This next one is a short one, and it's titled Spooky Stories. My son disappeared one night. And this is from Angelita. Let me say that this experience changed my life forever. I never truly fell for the paranormal stories. They just seemed too fantastical. And the stories I ever heard were the ones that were on TV. So how truthful are they really? Well, one night I found out how real the paranormal really is. This story involves my son, which is now 13, and this happened before he started elementary school. The moment has burned into my memories ever since. I can never forget my state of mind and how I felt. Well, every night my son would wake up in the middle of the night and climb into bed with me. He always wanted me to hold him, feeling safe. It wasn't anything new. Ever since he was 2, he would find some way to climb out of his crib or bed and get in bed with me. He didn't like being alone, but he had to learn that he couldn't keep this up. He was going to start kindergarten soon. He had to start learning to sleep in his own bed. Well, change is a little hard. I would admit for the both of us, it was easier to let him sneak in, having a teaching moment at 2 in the morning. Well, around 2 or 3 in the morning one night, I woke up out of the blue and looked over towards my bedroom door and saw my son standing in the threshold of my doorway. I couldn't see him good because all the lights were off, so he just looked like a small shadow figure. At first, I didn't know what to make of it. Him just standing there. So I went towards him and tucked my legs under me, sitting in front of him. I was concerned and asked him what was wrong. He didn't answer me. I didn't know if he was mad at me, confused, or what. So I asked again, what's wrong? And I went to place my hand on his shoulder, and he dissipated, dissolved, right before my eyes. My eyes had a hard time adjusting to what had happened, but my panic overwhelmed me, flooding in my chest. My son, he was gone. He was gone. I picked myself up from the floor and ran into his room, thinking he was taken from me. But no, he was there, still asleep in his bed. I don't know why this happened to me, but I do believe in shadow figures now, and I touched one. When I share this story to others while my kids are around, they just laugh it off and say, glad we don't live there anymore. But I just don't understand why. Other small things happened after that, but truly seeing is believing, and it scared the F out of me. Much love and happiness. Stay awesome, girly. Keep up the great work. Yes, those shadow figures, sometimes they try to take form of people that we know and love so they can trick us, but that is so scary. But I'm so glad that your son was not actually taken away. I was so worried when I read the title, like, oh my gosh, is this gonna be like a really tragic story? But it wasn't. It was just a stupid ass ghost messing with you. Thank you so much, Atilita, for sharing your story. This next story is from Frida, and it's titled My Not So Alone Work. Hi lovely, my name is Frida and I'm your biggest fan in Sweden. Oh, Sweden, yay! I want to give you one of my stories. You have to excuse my spelling, I don't write in English so often. Oh, it doesn't matter. Here is my story. So my story happened a year ago when I worked at a Hostel cafe, tourist attraction last summer not far from where I live. This farm has been known as haunted in my feats since the early 17th century. I was employed as a caretaker and did everything from serving coffee to cleaning rooms, washing, organizing spaces, etc. I was about to clean in one of the buildings that had rooms for rent, and I would clean all 6 rooms on that floor. I started as usual to start some music on the radio and find the right mode to have fun in my solitude, as I did know that I would be alone for a few hours. The first room goes well and gets finished in no time. The next room, I started to get a strange feeling. I thought I heard steps in the stairs up to the floor I was on, but shook off the feeling when I did know that I was alone. I continued and went on to room number 3, but the door was locked. So I knocked on the door and said, house cleaning. Thought I heard a coming soon and a cane that started running. So I went to the next room, assumed that a guest was just there. I continued, so I just had the room left. Knocking again, but without a reply. No steps. So I picked up my keys and went in. To my horror, the room was empty and looked untouched. I went into the bathroom to get some water when I hear a bang outside. I jump and take some steps out into the hall where I see that one of the 6 open doors is now closed. I go against it and say with a loud voice that you must not slam the doors here, hoping that it was a colleague who just wants to have fun. But when I open the door, the room is empty and the windows closed. So I go back to the last, but just as I have a step into the room and hear an even higher bang roar. I turn around and all the other 5 doors are closed. I release everything and rush out. When I tell everyone, my boss, who obviously has a million reasons why it happened. But the rest of the week, I did not get to work alone. I heard voices, saw shadows, things moving and dispersing. This is the short story. Thank you so much for your lovely videos and inspiration. That is the worst thing, like hotel rooms, and especially being there alone, cleaning. I would not be able to do that because I would be hearing so many things and be so freaked out because you do not know what crazy things people do in those hotel rooms. They could be playing with Ouija boards, they could be devil worshippers. You never know. But thank you so much, Frida, for sharing your freaky story. Okay, dolls, so I have the last story for you, and this one is titled My Friend Was Possessed. Hi Ashley, my name is Megan. Greetings from Colorado. Ooh, I've always wanted to visit Colorado. I've been a long-time follower and love your content. Just a warning, this is gonna be long. I'm 25 now, but my story takes place years ago when I was either 17 or 18. My ex-best friend and I were super close since 13 years old. I'd stay at his house just about every weekend and days I didn't have school. His house was haunted, especially the basement where his room was. Both him and I were into everything paranormal and ghost related. Colorado has some infamous haunted roads. Google Third Bridge and Riverdale Road if you're needing some spooky stories. We'd always drive down them and park to see if we could catch or experience some type of evidence. A little backstory to me is that I'm super sensitive to spirits. A psychic friend of my dad's who used to do my tarots before she passed told me this as well. That ghosts and spirits really like my energy and that I could be a medium if I put in the time and studying and really tried to unlock it. But whenever doing anything paranormal, I'd start to feel drained, lethargic, and super tired out of nowhere if we were around them too long. But me and my friend decided, let's try Ouija boards. Always bad idea. We felt we knew what we were doing, which wasn't the case. And one night, my friend's birthday, things got out of hand. We had used the board a couple of times before and talked to a spirit who made it clear it did not like me. It told me it wanted to harm me and that I was stopping it from doing something. One night when I was sleeping over, the bed I was sleeping in started shaking. And another incident was again when I was spending the night and I was in that awake, half asleep state, and in a very demonic voice right by my ear, I heard it scream, "Hey." My ear rang. It was so close and loud. But back to the night. As I said, it was his birthday and it was me, him, and his boyfriend celebrating at his house. We decided to drink and try to have a fun party night. My friend said he wanted to do the Ouija board. His boyfriend is apprehensive at first, but finally agrees, but he's not gonna touch the board or planch it. I always asked and talked to whoever came through the board because of my sensitivity to spirits. Our lovely ghost friend, who hates me, comes through. We weren't asking anything too heavy and none of us were really drunk, but I started feeling drained. More drained than I ever experienced. I actually fainted for a few seconds. My friend and his boyfriend were shaking me, waking me up, and explained that I passed out and that right before I did, my eyes went totally black. I was freaked out and didn't want to continue, but my friend did. I was very easily manipulated back then and didn't want to seem like a bad friend, so we continued. But we start to notice my friend act weird. We blamed the alcohol, but then he started to get really mean and nasty to me and his boyfriend. We finally just say we're done and we're going to the back to smoke and he can figure out what to do. When we finish our cigarettes, we come back and he's playing by himself. We tell him, come on, let's put that thing away and do something. He began being belligerent and started fighting with us. We assumed he was wasted and said, we're cutting you off, and he got so mad. He wouldn't give us his drink, so we decided we're going to take it, and he physically hits his boyfriend. I grab the cup and start going to the bathroom to dump it. He grabs me, but I fight him off and start walking. He wraps his hands around my ankle, so I have to drag him like a toddler. I dump the remaining liquid into the toilet and he grabs the cup and tries to drink the remaining droplets. Me and his boyfriend are lost on what to do with him after what had just happened. We notice him whispering stuff to himself. I call his name to stop in a loud commanding voice. He does. Me and his boyfriend put him to bed and decided we were going to sleep in the other room that was unoccupied at the time. 5 minutes into laying down, I feel something off and I open my eyes. He's standing above me, staring at me. His eyes shifting back to his regular eyes, and he started crying, begging me to sleep with him because he's scared. I decided to. After that night, things between me and him became very weird. He started being just mean to me every chance he got till our fallout about 5 to 6 months after that. I stopped playing with the Ouija boards because even that night, I didn't think he was drunk. I think he became possessed by that evil spirit in his house. We haven't talked since our fallout. I hope he's okay and that it wasn't the case, but I still believe to this day it was. Sorry for the super long story. Keep up the amazing Freaky Friday videos, babe. And remember, kids, Ouija boards are for professionals who know and understand what they can unlock, not for a bunch of bad drunk teenagers looking for a thrill. Love you, girl. Wow. That's so sad to hear about your friend and how that caused such a rift in your relationship that you guys don't even have a friendship anymore. I hope he is still not possessed. I personally, reading the story, I believe that because that demonic thing did not like you, it caused that rift because the demon wanted to separate the friend as far away from you because it knew that you had this energy about you that it did not like. So I'm very sorry to hear about your friendship, but thank you so much for sharing your spooky Ouija story. All right, dolls, so that is it for all the stories today. Thank you so much for everyone who has shared. Now we are going to move on to the outfit and hopefully unspook you guys a bit. I know I always say that, but I'm just trying to comfort you, especially for watching this at night. Okay, dolls, let's move on to the outfit. So that is it for today's Freaky Friday video, my loves. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. We got some really good ones in, and I did make this video a bit longer because I know quite a few of you were bummed out that it was so short last week. So I'm still getting the hang of things, but I'll make them about like 30 to 35 minutes long. If you would like to share your story, please submit it to Freaky Fridays with an S 2019@gmail.com. Make sure to like and comment down below, and also share with your friends. I love you dolls so much. I hope you have a Freaky Friday, and I will see you soon. Bye, loves.